there still a lack of belief that that's the place to be?
Well, no, it should not be a lack of belief because, as Bren was talking about, you're looking for more quality in the tech names now, like an Oracle, like a CDW. All these companies have a valuation tilt. And I will just add to the whole economy. The economy is actually improving, and it's at a better place today than it was at the beginning of the year. You have to look at the vaccine is ahead of schedule. So that means that we're going to reopen earlier. We also have the fiscal policy. I believe that the infrastructure bill, a portion of it, if not all $2 trillion, a portion of it will get passed. And also, during 2020, we had companies reducing their operating expense. So we're going to see an improvement in operating margin. We're going to see a lot of earnings surprises in these tech names, and that's going to lead to what we see as the S&P 500 being probably around 4,300, if not higher.
I'll tell you what, Joe, I mean, it's not just the big tech names that are doing well today. Over the past week, some of the areas that have been obliterated or at least hit pretty hard. Maybe obliterate is too strong of a word to use. Software, for example, you had seen a pullback in some of those highest of high valuation and high growth names. Over the last week, though, PagerDuty's up 11%, Snap's up 9%, Datadog 7.5%, CrowdStrike the same amount, 7.5%. Zscaler's had a nice gain. ServiceNow, Cloudera, Trade Desk, the semis have done quite well too. Best week since February 12th, the fourth straight positive week there. Is it too early to ask, is tech back?
Well, I think tech has always been back. I think, Scott, what happened to technology is in the middle of February, we began to see a dramatic rotation in which a lot of the momentum funds, which were overweight towards technology, began to pare back their holdings. You cited outflows to Degas previously in the conversation. Understand those outflows are coming specifically towards end-of-quarter momentum funds that are overall reducing their exposure to the technology sector. So here's what I would say as it relates to some of the names that you mentioned. A lot of those names, Scott, they're some of the emerging growth technology stories. I'm still a little suspicious that for the long term you want to place your holdings there. I have Pinterest. That's a name that I'm holding personally, but I'm not going to step into a Datadog or some of the high flyers like a Peloton right here. I'm going to lean more towards the NVIDIAs, the Lam Researches, and the Alphabet. I still want that established technology growth story.
Yeah, so does Bryn, right? Bryn, because you bought more Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft is personally my biggest single security position. And I think that, just last week it was announced that they're going to be making, I think, 120,000 augmented reality headsets for the Army, which is about a $20 billion contract. They're executing on the cloud. They're executing on Xbox. If they do the Discord acquisition, which it's rumored to be up to $10 billion, that's 100 million people that Microsoft has access to. I just think they're executing all around. They're going to do 40 to 42 billion this next quarter. And so I just think it continues to hit on all of its different verticals. And I mean, LinkedIn still has wonderful, wonderful ad spends there. So I think it's a must-own name in a portfolio.
Pete, you bought more Apple calls and Facebook calls. And even, as you cited the fact that it's mostly short-term paper, right, that you're taking a look at, it's still nonetheless bullish sentiment that these names are going to have a lift, even if it's in the near term.
Absolutely, Scott. As a matter of fact, the bullish sentiment is across just about everything we saw today in terms of the unusual that we've already seen. And it's back. I mean, we had a little bit of a pause last week. It's a shortened week, the holiday week and all the rest of that. And so that was part of it. But I think the reality is now we are seeing a market that really is skying to the upside. And a lot of it was, we talked about these specific names in technology, how they'd paused for a while. I think if you go back in time and you had that great run that we had out of some of these names, whether it's Apple or Microsoft or Facebook or a lot of these various names that we talk about all the time, they had that healthy pause. Now it looks like they're ready to rear up again and start moving to the upside. And that's, I tell you what, the quality names are the quality names, and they continue to be. They had that pause. Biotech had a pause. We had semiconductors having a pause. And so now we're seeing a little bit more of that move to the upside. It's been the last 4 or 5 days in the semiconductors has been absolutely impressive. Gains of 3% and 4% and 5%. It's just been something where it looked like everybody wants to get back into a lot of these variety of different areas in the marketplace, specifically when we're looking at NASDAQ we're talking about technology, we're talking about semiconductors and biotech, because biotech was getting beaten down pretty bad, and then suddenly we start to see a little bit of strength coming back there as well, Scott. So I think that there's a lot of strength. The fact that we are seeing some of these outflows, I find that really interesting. Everything that we're seeing are inflows, and maybe some of that might be stock replacement. I can't really tell you for sure, because we have seen a nice move out of a lot of different names so far.